The initial feedback would just kind of blew my mind, right? It blew off the shelf. Even people who said they hated nut milk were chugging it. Higher heat, higher pressure. It just destroys everything. I already had a vision or an idea for the design of just this very like sleek, minimalist can.
So essentially you did it all yourself.
Yeah, the vanilla was fine. The chocolate was like not great. He just lights up. He's like, I love chocolate milk. He's like, I love this. I want to invest. I'm curious. What are you thinking? And he's like, Ninja. Like, the gamer? He's like, yeah, let's send some to Ninja. He gets it, and he's like, I love this.
It was orgasmic.
He was excited to finally find a drink partner that he actually could feel good about promoting to his fans. And he's like, oh, we're doing this. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, yeah, Ninja's gonna be my co-founder. We were both like, what world is this? Like, what is happening? I started off just being like so pumped for all of this, but like every week that went by, doubt starts to creep in like, oh, this isn't actually gonna happen. And the waiting game is fucking hell. If you told me 5 years ago that I would do a startup and Ninja, the Fortnite guy, would be my co-founder, I'd be like, yeah, you're fucking nuts. I get a message on LinkedIn from Mr. Beast's manager at the time. And I was like, wow, that's so shady.
What's up, everyone? This is the Nutcase podcast.
I'm a nutcase, I'm a rogue, I'm a misfit, I'm the glitch in the code. Maybe I'm gonna explode.
I'm Charlotte. I'm going to be your host as we interview Joe, the founder of Nutcase, which is the first ever hydration milk. One of the best things about being friends with Joe is I get to hear firsthand some of the most crazy, insane stories, from how she met and married one of the co-founders of Shopify to bringing on legendary gamer Ninja as her co-founder. Our hangouts were never short of me saying, holy shit, and what the fuck, how did that happen? I somehow convinced her to share it with all of you guys. We're gonna go deep and personal, think of a blend between Alex Cooper and Diary of a CEO, all while sharing building out Nutcase from day one.
I'm a freak, like it or not, that's who I am.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap. At this point, Nutcase has been birthed in your kitchen using a Vitamix, and it's a better for you cashew-based chocolate milk. At this point, what is the response? Like what's going on at this point once we've kind of got it out there, you've done your first test?
So I mean, the initial feedback would just kind of blew my mind, right? It blew off the shelf. Even people who said they hated nut milk were chugging it. So we knew we were onto something. We tried to figure out how to scale it, but we were spinning in circles. Luckily, a chance trip to Vegas unlocked a few doors, and here I was now talking to David.
Okay, so this brunch unlocked this relationship with David Boyle, who essentially helps CPG brands start out in like their whole development.
Yeah, exactly. He helps with, all the operations, everything you need to get started. So I had this first call with him, and I, told him about Nutcase. Of course, like first things first, he has to like the concept and be interested in working with you. So, I kind of pitch him on the idea. Luckily, he really likes it. He sees the potential, and he's like, hey, cool, yeah, like I'd love to work together. And essentially, he's like, step by step. First of all, we need to nail down the formulation. So I'll find you a formulator, and then we need packaging, find you a co-packer, source all the ingredients, and I can help with all that. So I was like, I didn't even know these people existed.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. So step one is what? Like, what is the first? So he's covering all that with you and guiding you. Yeah. What's the first kind of process?
So step one is formulation. So essentially I had a recipe that worked for my Vitamix in my kitchen, but it's a whole different ballgame to create a formula that works at scale. So first of all, it needs to be able to be made by a co-packer in like massive vats, like giant quantities. And it had to be shelf stable. So that's where like the food scientist shit comes in. So essentially you generally look for a formulator to do that. So he happened to know this guy, Ryan Bachman, who was specifically good at working with nut milks. He'd work with, I think, like Pop and Bottle and companies like that. So he's like, recommended him. He's like, he'd be your guy. So he introduced me to Ryan, and he was awesome. He loved what we were doing, especially like we were trying to do it as clean as possible.
Okay. So he loved the idea, and he was the first one to do the formulation. And how was it?
Well, so this is where it's funny. So the first version we tried, the chocolate was not bad, but still needed some work. But the vanilla, I remember taking taking a little sip, and it tasted like I'd just taken a shot of like pure vanilla extract. And I was like, what? Like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, this is way too much. So, sent my feedback, iterated, did a few versions of this back and forth. Just you're testing, changing the amount of cashews by like 0.5% to see what that does to the texture, and then playing with the sweetness and playing with the cocoa, and it's just crazy. Yeah.
Okay, and to give the listeners context, you're still here in Canada. So where are you doing all these tastings?
Yeah, so to complicate things again.
Yeah.
When they're doing this formulation, right, they just send it to you in like these little mason jars. Very suspicious looking. You cannot ship that across the border. And we did multiple rounds of this. So we would either try to coordinate when I happened to be in the US. So at one point I was like, we had a family trip to Scottsdale, I think. So I was like, send them to Scottsdale. I'll be there next Thursday. So like, I think I did V1 in Scottsdale, V2 in Vegas. But then I was back home and I was like, hey, you need to, you can't send them to Canada, but let's send them to like we're like an hour and a half from the border. So I'm like, send it to like the smallest nearby border town in the US, to the UPS, and like, we'll go pick it up there. So he would send it there. And we'd have to drive across the border and go to this random UPS and then sit in our car in the parking lot and just like open up these boxes, sitting in the front seat, and like open up these little jars, and we'd be tasting it and like trying to write notes down, and then drive back across the border. The funniest thing is this little border town is so small that literally, and there's just like some grocery store and a UPS and like a Walmart, I think. And in the parking lot, there's literally like a horse carriage.
Interesting. Okay.
Parked there. And we're like, where are we? It's like clearly like a very big Amish population, I guess.
Okay.
But I was literally like, I felt like I'd gone back in time, and I was so confused. And I'm just like, we're like weirdly, it probably looked so bizarre and suspicious, like just
trying these
Brooke
liquids.
and I just like tasting these little
Okay, so it was
jars.
Brooke that would go with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're just tasting these little weird jars of liquid. And then had to dump it.
So how many different iterations did you try before being like, yeah, hit it, you nailed it?
Must have been like 5 or 6.
Okay. So fast forward, you get to the 5th or 6th one of trying it in the front seat of your car, across the border.
Yeah.
And then what's next?
Well, so I find at some point, like, we made little tweaks and we're like, I think this is as good as we can get it. We need to move on, so let's move forward.
Okay, so that's when the sleeves come into play?
Well, the cans.
Okay.
So one of the big decisions that I made, or one of the biggest changes we made, going from Canada to like the original version that was in a 16-ounce clear bottle to the US, is I wanted it to stand out and to be more different, to be really cool. So I had this kind of vision of putting it in the slim 8-ounce black can. So, okay, we knew we wanted cans, which was also worked out really well and was kind of key, because to extend the shelf life of nut milk, forget HPP, to really do it right, we needed to do something called retort processing, which is like the most intense processing that a beverage can go through. And that's what's really required for something like milk.
So is that like another level of HPP, like the next level?
So like this is higher heat, higher pressure.
Okay.
It just destroys everything. And you put the can, like the finished can in it, already sealed. And then it cooks it inside. So there's no way that
it can go
any
rancid.
bacteria or anything can get inside. And with that, we have a year of shelf life, which is insane. So we're like, okay, that was another piece of the puzzle, though, is like, now we know we need it to be retort processing, and there's only so many facilities that will do retort.
Okay,
so we need cans that can withstand retort. So like all of that.
So you've got the right can at this point.
So we got the can, and we need to design sleeves. So another thing that I never knew before, but to get printed, like a nice Coke can where it's like all printed, the minimum order quantity for custom printed cans is about 250,000 cans.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we're not at that volume yet. So the solution in the interim is to just have a blank can and then print a sleeve that gets shrink wrapped onto it. So you actually design the sleeves.
Okay, so walk us through that process with the sleeve. Did you have to source that out as well? How did that work?
Oh, this is an interesting one. So I already had a vision or an idea for the design of just this very like black, sleek, minimalist can. But of course, I was just like, I've never designed for CPG or for Bev, so I don't know what I'm doing. And this is when people around me were like, oh, like there's these great CPG designers you should talk to. So they made some intros. The first design firm I talked to, they literally quoted me, I think it was like $100,000 to design this for me. And they're like, we'll take you through a journey. And I was just like, yeah, no, like that's stupid. No way, scratch that. Then I got referred to a more affordable design firm, and I was like, okay, let's give them a chance. Someone vouched for them, they had used them, and they were happy with it. My concern, and what ended up happening though, is like all of their designs, like they had done nice work, but it was all very, very bubbly and very feminine and colorful. And so on the first call, I was like, look, you guys do good work, but just want to make sure you understand that this brand, the vibe is like dark, edgy, pretty much nothing like what your other stuff is. And they're like, no, we totally get that. Like we're pretty stoked to work on something that's like different. And I was like, all right, cool.
Okay, so all seems good. And then how does the trial run go?
Well, yeah, so then they send me, first of all, they take weeks. I don't know what the fuck takes weeks. I can do this stuff overnight. Okay. And then they finally come back to me. They're like so excited to show me their designs. And what they just showed me was absolute garbage. It was like vintage and retro. I don't know what the fuck it was. But I was like, this is literally pretty much exactly what I told you guys not to do.
So did you just...
I was just furious at this point.
Okay.
And I just ripped into them, and they were like, oh, no, we'll fix it. I was like...
After waiting all that time,
like, every time you're like, I'm wasting 3-4 weeks. At that point, I gave them this like design that I had just done on Keynote. And I was like, guys, I just want it like this, but like take this idea and then like make it more professional. Like you're the designers. This is just me mocking shit up. Take this and then polish it. They took my thing and made it worse somehow. So I finally was just like, oh no, okay, you guys, here's all the assets, just put it in the fucking die line and give it back to me. Essentially. Yeah. It was just like, I just need this in like an Adobe file, and that's the only part I can't do because I don't have this shit. So take my fucking Keynote, make an NFP for me, a nutrition facts panel.
So essentially you did it all yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the cans. Yeah. Now you've designed your own sleeves after waiting all this time for that failure. Yeah. And then what's the next plan of action?
So the next step is to then find a co-packer that can do a trial run for you. In this case, and especially, the thing you have to understand with co-packers is they have different specialties. And there's only so many that, can do nut milk. Okay. So luckily Boyle knew which ones those were. And in this particular case, Ryan, our formulator, was actually co-owned or part owner of a co-packer in Minnesota called Black Eye. He kind of vouched for us, and the other benefit was because he made the formula, they knew, he obviously made a formula that he knew would work in their machines. Because that can happen sometimes where you have a formulator who makes this recipe, they give it to the co-packer, co-packer's like, yeah, what the fuck, we can't make this.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so that was a huge advantage for us. So they agreed to, usually start with a trial run. So, I mean, the challenge with Bev especially is that the MOQs, the minimum order quantities for runs, are massive. So you're like talking about thousands and thousands of cans.
Yeah.
The good ones will allow you to do a trial run for where it's like, I think it was like 3,000 cans or something like that. So we're like, okay. So we set that up, and David Boyle, his ops team, they source all the ingredients for us. So they, find the good cashew supplier, cocoa supplier, all that gets sent. The co-packer makes the first batch. We're all excited. The vanilla was fine. The chocolate was like not great. It was a bit bitter. Okay. So we're like, fuck, what do we do? Because we were like ready to go, and then we taste it, and we're like, oh no, it's not right. So we went back to they're like, oh no, we know what we did. We left it in the vat too long. It overcooked and it burnt and then it got bitter. And we're like, oh, why would you do that? So okay, rerun, start over. And that's just like 3,000 cans that you just have to pour out. And it's just heartbreaking to just be like, that's a lot
all
of
that waste.
milk.
Yeah.
But we start over, and that's when we finally have our first sample cans that we can start sharing.
So you've got your first batch, and at this point you've solidified the warehouse as well.
So yeah, actually it's funny because these things just start happening because then the co-packer's like, where do you want us to send these pallets of cans? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, good point. And again, Boyle's team is like, one of the things they do is help you find a 3PL, which is like a warehouse that can handle all the shipments and everything for you. So, they're like, okay, I know you want to be based in Vegas, because the plan was always to have Nutcase based out of Vegas. We knew we were going to eventually move there. So, they worked their network, and they knew about this one specific warehouse in Vegas that, they'd had good experience with, so that they connected me with Black Mountain, and, that's, to this day, that's our partner, and they've been awesome.
And is there anything else you're having to set up at the same time as getting the whole formulation down?
Right, yeah.
The sleeves?
There's all the boring stuff, like legal, accounting, banking, which...
Fundraising?
Fundraising was part of it, but that happens kind of very randomly and organically as well. So the one keynote is that from that brunch in Vegas, of course, I kept Rich and Jonah updated, and I was like, hey guys, it's happening. So, kudos to them as well. They actually followed through.
Okay, they kept
came in as our lead backers in our pre-seed round. The funny story in this case with Daniel specifically is that because Daniel's background is in design as well, and at Shopify he did all the UI, UX, all of that stuff. So I remember one day when I was going through this design fiasco with the cans, I showed him the keynote, the designs I had made, but I didn't tell him I made them. And he knew I was talking to designers, so that's what he assumed. So I showed him, I was like, what do you think of this? And he was like, these are great. These are really cool. And I was like, yeah, I made these. And he was like, no, you didn't. And it was
I remember we went for a walk right after that conversation took place, and you were like, you're never going to believe this. Daniel was stoked on my design. Yeah. And I know what that means for you.
I know that.
You're he's your biggest critique, and it comes to that, right?
100%. And he has every right to, everything else, just for context, everything else I've put in front of him, he has destroyed.
Yeah.
And broke my heart a million times. Now he didn't, so the fact that he couldn't believe that I made it was the highest compliment.
Yeah.
The second part of that is that actually after seeing those designs, he was literally like, do I have a piece of this yet? If this is what you're doing next, how much do I own of it? And I was like, well, not yet, but I'll let you in the first round. So that's when
fundraising.
Apparently, I guess. So that's when he came in. Another really random chain of events. So one day we get a text from Phil Hellmuth, who I mentioned we knew again through poker. Phil texts us, and just because we hadn't seen him for a long time, but he was like, hey guys, I'm with your buddy Toby at All In Summit.
Okay.
And he so he just reached out because he was like, hey, like mutual friend, like I finally met Toby, we're together, and like the pictures like them doing a selfie. I'm like, cool. And then later he calls just to like, because obviously that just made him think of us. So he calls and he's like, hey, like what are you guys up to? And that's what I meant. Tell him, I'm like, oh, I've got this chocolate milk. kind of felt silly saying that, but of course he just lights up. He's like, I love chocolate milk. He's like, why didn't you tell me? Like I want to try it. And we'd just gotten these first samples. So I said, oh, like no problem. Like I'll send you some of the first cans. So I send him cans.
Just before we get into that, for background on Phil, is he like, does he invest into other brands? Like, give us a little bit of background as to like what his interests are or what he kind of does in that world.
Phil actually invests a ton. He's actually based in SF in the Valley. He's good friends with all of the like Shama. He always says Shamoff's his best friend, and Jason Kalkanis, and like all those tech boys.
Okay.
So he's actually gotten in on a bunch of deals, but it's mostly tech stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, he actually is pretty active in investing and advising in startups, but usually not chocolate milk.
Okay, so this was new territory from the CPG. Was like,
I think he'd done one drink before or something, but
okay.
But yeah, so
Okay, so he gets the sample, and like, what's the reaction?
he immediately is like, I love this, I want to invest, and I was like,
right away.
oh, okay, cool. So I'm like, sure. So we talk about terms, and actually this was really interesting. And what I appreciate about Phil, for those who don't know, Phil, or all they know is what they've seen on TV, and he has this, his nickname's the Poker Brat, and he just like goes on like rampages.
What the? Oh, well got done. The race with frickin' King 8. Well, this kid probably won't last another hour. It's just so sick.
Behind the scenes, like in the real world, he's just like, he's the sweetest, and when he has your back, he's really got your back. And that's something that I just really appreciate about him. But also, he's just always been super real with me. So, and we've been very comfortable just being honest. So, this was the first time that on the call, the call where he was talking about investing, he just straight up asked me, because Jack, I had a young child at home.
Yeah. And
he was like, do you actually think you can do this, like as a mom with a newborn?
How did that hit you?
It's funny because it hit me in two ways. The one part of me understood that like a lot of people would be offended by this question or think it was inappropriate. But me being me and knowing Phil, I actually just appreciated I was like, that is a legit question. Like it's fucking, like it's a lot of work to have a young child at home, and I could not do it without a ton of help. So the way to look at it is that rather than him doubt and wonder that, and then maybe not invest because he's not sure, he just asked me and gave me the opportunity to straight up explain that I'm incredibly fortunate to have a lot of help and have an incredibly supportive husband that like really steps up and is a true like 50-50 partner. And he was like, good answer. Yeah. And like, I don't know why people would be, because I've told other women and they're like, he didn't, like, you can't ask that. And I'm like, why not? Like, I mean, I appreciate him for just ask.
Being super candid.
Yeah.
Okay, so he loves the product. He has this conversation with you. It goes well. He's all in. Then where does that take you?
Right. So then all of a sudden he goes, I have an idea. I know who we should send it to. And I'm okay. Like, I know Phil knows a lot of people. So I'm like, okay, I'm curious. Who are you thinking? And he's like, Ninja. I was like the gamer? And he's like, yeah, let's send some to Ninja. So it just so happened that he had recently played a high stakes poker game in LA, which was like pros and creators. So it was like Ninja, Mr. Beast, Ludwig, XQC, a bunch of those guys. And it just so happened that he sat right next to Ninja, and the two just really hit it off. So, they kept in contact and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, I mean, cool. Like, I'd heard of Ninja. I'm not a gamer myself, but of course have heard the name and know that like he's just like one of biggest gamers ever. So I was like, yeah, sure.
So he connects you, like you guys talk first over text, or do you just like?
Yeah, so he like right off the call, he sends a text. He's like, hey, Ty, meet Joe. Joe's got this chocolate milk, da da da. And then like Tyler answers immediately. Tyler's Ninja, for those who don't know. He answers like right away. He's like, yeah, this sounds great. Like, send me some.
Okay,
So I was like, okay.
He gets a sample.
Yeah, so I sent him a case.
Yeah.
And he's like, I love this.
Dude, when I tell you, oh my God, it was orgasmic.
Like, oh, okay, cool. So like what? And he's like, I'm really interested. Like, let's talk more. So from that text, we jump on a call. It's funny because I don't often get nervous, but for some reason I was nervous for this call.
I was just gonna say, were you nervous for the call?
Yeah, because I'm like, what am I? I don't know what to, how it's gonna go. Like, what am I gonna talk about? But it was actually super easy to talk to him.
Let's just take note of that, Tyler. She was nervous to talk to you.
So
she said it
weird.
on
I'm like,
camera.
Oh my God. Yeah, he was just the coolest thing was that he explained how he really was starting to, care about health and nutrition and what he drinks and what he puts in his body. So like this was, he really appreciated that, how healthy and clean it was. And at the same time admitted that he has like the craziest sweet tooth and that like this just hit and satisfied his sweet tooth. So I was like, that's really cool. And he even said that, he was the first gamer to be sponsored by Red Bull and all these kind of stuff. And he said he was excited to finally potentially like find a drink partner that he actually could feel good about promoting to his fans. And I was like,
huge.
That's fucking dope.
Yeah.
Like, so I love that. And it was clear pretty quickly, like, he's like, no, I'm like really interested. Like I'm be down to get involved. And I was like, oh shit, like totally caught me off guard. So I'm like, okay, well, like if we're actually going to do something together, like we have to meet in person. Like we have to make sure that we actually like jive and work well together. So we agreed to plan for a time to meet up. I remember getting off that call, and then later that night, I just went to Daniel, and I was like, I need to go to Florida. And Daniel was like, what? Like, okay, why?
Yeah.
Like, I need to go have dinner with Ninja? And Daniel's reaction is like, wait, what? Like, how? What's happening? And then I just like, oh, well, Phil introduced us.
It all happened so fast that he just didn't really.
But more so, the reason it was so funny is because Daniel is a massive gamer.
Massive, dude.
So he really knows who Ninja is. And he was like, holy shit, my wife's having dinner with Ninja. And he's like, can I come? I was like, well, not this one's a business dinner. So like, not this one, but like, I'm sure you'll meet him someday.
In the future.
And he's like, yeah, like go for it.
Okay, so you go to Florida. You guys make plans, you go there, and where do you guys meet? Like, walk us through what that's like meeting Ninja for the first time.
Right. So he, tells me to meet at this restaurant. I forgot what it was called, but it was like a steakhouse or something. And the craziest thing was I remember seeing on his like Insta stories the week before that he'd had dinner at this same restaurant with the CEO of Twitch.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. So like I actually brought up during dinner. I was kind of laughing. So I was like, so like last week you were meeting the CEO of Twitch here. And now here I am, like almost as big of a deal, but not. But I was just like, I just.
So surreal.
Yeah, totally. That is fucking tall. I think.
So did he have the blue hair at the first time you met him too?
So it's so funny because this was just after they had done like a Fortnite relaunch. That was like the first time in years he'd redone his hair. So it was like almost faded out, but it was kind of blue.
Okay.
So yeah, I just remember being like, holy fuck, like you're way taller than I thought.
Yeah.
But they, we got a quiet table, and even during dinner, like there must have been at least like half a dozen people that came up and were like, oh my God, can I get an autograph? And he was so sweet with everybody. It was really cool, but it was also like such a reminder that I was like, because everybody also, you could tell, like, look at you like, and who are you? And I'm just like, nobody, just ignore me. But we just like, it was so easy and natural to talk to him.
So
like,
you guys vibed really well.
Yeah, it almost felt like, I always say now, it's like, felt like a little brother.
Yeah.
Probably hates me saying that because we're almost the same age. She's like a year younger than me, maybe. But We talked about Pokemon and poker and just all this random stuff. His wife wasn't at the dinner, but he kept saying like, oh, like you remind me of Jess, like Jess is gonna love you. And then we get to the end of dinner, like they're bringing us a check or something, and we're like, oh shit, like I guess we should actually talk about business. Like we just, we're socializing. So at this point I like get kind of awkward and weird, and I'm like, so like, what do you like? What are we?
What's
are
next?
you
Yeah.
interested? And he's like, oh, we're doing this. And I was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, cool. So what are we doing? And he's like, oh, I'm good with whatever.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I love how chill you are about this. That's awesome. I'm chill like that too. But like the lawyers are gonna want a bit more details. So we just kind of like threw some numbers and stuff out, and he's like, yeah, cool. I'm like, all right, awesome. That was easy.
So you leave Florida after this
So yeah, I go
meeting
home.
goes smooth.
I tell Daniel, he's like, what the fuck? I was like, yeah, Ninja's gonna be my co-founder. And we were both like, what world is this? Like, what is happening? But cool.
Okay, and at this point, I guess lawyers are getting involved.
Yeah, this is the shitty part. So all that seemed like so easy, so smooth. I'm like, yeah, this is a breeze. And then the lawyers get involved.
Oof, I know what that's like.
They just fucking drag shit on. It took months, and it was the worst because I started off just being like so pumped for all of this, but like every week that went by, like doubt starts to creep in, like, oh, this isn't actually going to happen. Oh, they're going to change their mind, or like whatever. And this is the part that people don't see about startups is like, I remember waking up every morning for weeks and weeks and weeks and just like checking my phone, being like, I hope there's a fucking email from the lawyers. Like, I hope something happened. And then nothing. And then you just wait. And it drove
So
me.
it was a dark time.
It just drove me
Stressful.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. Like everything else was at a standstill. And like every day that goes by, you start to doubt it even more. And you're like, wow, that was such a tease. Like I thought.
You got to this like incredible high,
Yeah.
you know, of being like, you formed this good partnership.
Yeah.
And then it's just like that drop.
Yeah.
And the unknown.
Yeah. And the waiting game
Yeah.
is fucking hell.
Yeah.
So that was happening. And
So what do you do? How long, this went on for how long? Months?
Months. And this was
Okay.
over the holidays, so that was the worst part too. I was like, okay, well, definitely nothing's gonna happen now
Yeah.
for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I tried to distract myself, but it's super annoying. And then finally, like literally months in, at some point, I just call Ty and I'm like, yo, what's up? Like, what is going on? And he's like, what is going on? Like, like, why isn't this done yet? And I'm like, you're fucking lawyers, whatever. They're asking for this and that. And he's like, oh, I didn't tell them to. He's like, hold up. And then he calls his lawyers. He's basically tells them to stop fucking around. Like, he's like, get the deal done. Like, so they had actually like started to just like try to get him a better deal that like was just bullshit. And that he hadn't actually asked them to do.
So zero
So-
instructions on his behalf from all that.
Well, no, it's more like they just not went rogue. It's more like lawyers are gonna fucking lawyer, and they're gonna like they're trying to prove their value by somehow getting you a better deal. When he was like, I'm good with the deal as is. Like, stop fucking around and get the deal done. And that's why I fucking hate lawyers. Is that they have the wrong incentive, right?
Yeah.
They're billed by the hour, so they want to drag shit out. It's just the worst model. And yeah, anyway.
So it
over.
happens.
It happens, yes. Finally, one day we sign it. I don't even remember now. Like, it dragged on out for so long that when it finally came, it was actually like, that's the sad part. It was like almost like anticlimactic at that point because my nerves, everything was shot. And I was like, okay.
This is the moment that Ninja becomes your partner and co-founder.
Yeah, is it weird to say that, like, still I forget some days? It's so unexpected. Never in a million years. Like, if you told me 5 years ago that I would do a startup and Ninja, the Fortnite guy, would be my co-founder, I'd be like, yeah, you're fucking nuts.
Okay, so you're ready to launch at this point.
Finally.
And what does that look like? Like,
Right, so that's the big question. We're like, how do we launch this?
how? Yeah.
And then we have this really fun idea that because Ninja and I were introduced by Phil through poker, I love poker. He was really getting into poker and he streams. We're like, hey, why don't we launch it over a streamed poker game at PokerGo? Which again, also, if you remember, like Rich has ties with the PokerGo studio. And so there's that fun. So it's like all these cool links.
Okay, that's a wrap. Let's leave it at that for this episode and jump into our 6 rapid questions.
Yeah.
Let's start with a fail.
So, I was telling you we'd have to go do tastings across the border. Well, the first time we did this, I was really busy that day. So I was like, I don't have time to drive across the border. So instead, why don't we have my husband has an assistant, Justin, who works for us. So I was like, Justin, can you just go grab them from the UPS? I thought we'd be able to drive them across the border. So I'm like, can you go grab them and then just come back? He's like, yeah, of course, no problem. Just like pick up this package. But Canadians do it all the time. Like they ship things to the border. So he does that. And I think everything's going fine. And then all of a sudden I get a call from Justin and he sounds nervous. And Justin's like ex-military, total fucking badass that I've never seen like an ounce of emotion from. He's like, Joe, he's like, they're threatening to take my car. And I'm like, who, what? Like, what the fuck is happening right now? So I guess they searched his car for no reason, found the suspicious looking liquids. And they're like, what is this? So he's like, just explains, like, it's just samples for a nut milk. Right? And they're like, you're illegally importing goods.
Wow.
And they were like, no, these aren't goods. These are just samples. And anyway, the officer, right, this like become a joke between us now. His name is Officer Roy. Well, Officer Roy is on a fucking power trip that day.
Okay.
So Officer Roy starts to explain to Justin that this would be considered a commercial good and you needed an import license to bring a commercial good into the country. And therefore what he was doing was illegal and blah, 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 kept asking if we had an import license. So that's what Justin was calling, like, do we have an import license? I'm like, no, like, of course we don't, what the fuck? And then Officer Roy starts telling this story to try to explain it to us dumbasses that his story is, say you're a Canadian business and you go to the US and you buy some pencils. Well, if you use those pencils for a business deal, that is a commercial good.
You've got to be
And we're
kidding
like,
me.
Pencils? Really, dude? Like, what? And I'm like, this is not, like, we're not reselling this. There's no part of this is a U.S. business, U.S. incorporated. I just happen to be in Ottawa, and that's where I need to taste these. So that's all we're going to do. We're not going to be selling these suspicious-looking, weird mason jars to anybody. But this guy would just not have it. And
So what happens is you make him pour them all out and just go back?
Well, so this was the crazy thing. He actually, like, got me on the phone, and he was like, where's your import license? I was like, dude, I don't have one. Like, what the fuck do you want from me? He tells me his pencil story.
Pencil story.
I'm like, what the actual? And at this point, you know what's funny? It's like you could hear people in the office in the background being like, dude, chill.
Yeah.
But he's like threatening Justin to take his car. And like, Justin's like, I don't know what's going to happen right now. Like, this guy's fucking
So he's on a
wild.
major power trip.
Yeah. And I was like, I feel so bad because I put Justin in this situation that I never fathomed could be a situation. Anyway, finally, Officer Roy literally asked me for an import license 10 times. And I was like, I'm not going to pull this out of my ass on the phone. Like, I don't have one. And he goes silent for what feels like forever. And then I can just hear him on the phone. He turns to Justin and he goes, you drive this shit back across the border, you dump it, and then you can come back. At this point, Justin's just like, yeah, okay, fine. Like, just give me my car keys.
Yeah.
But like, this guy wouldn't even confiscate them for us. He was like, drive back across the river to make sure that these were not on Canadian soil or whatever. I don't know. And
so now Officer Roy is like a steady joke between you two.
So now, like, every time we cross the border, we're like, I hope it's not Officer Roy. because we're fucked. Now I don't have those samples.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's another waste of time. Start over.
Jeez, that's a big fail.
Yeah.
Okay, so Flex.
When we announced that, so we didn't plan to announce that Ninja was my co-founder yet. He accidentally leaks it on a stream, which ended up being really funny. And then like the gamer publication picks up on it and they write an article about it. And then I get a message on LinkedIn from Mr. Beast's manager at the time. And again, I was just like, holy shit, Mr. Beast's manager is emailing me or messaging me. And he's like, hey, I just heard, this sounds really cool. Like, I'd love to chat. And I'm like, wow. So I get on a phone with him and he's just so intrigued and interested. And he makes it sound like, oh, you know, maybe we can do collabs or something. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be huge. He has such a big audience. And I also knew that because Ninja had played in the poker game with Phil, and we knew that we wanted to launch with a poker game. So I was like, oh, does Jimmy want to play in our launch poker game? Like, that would get tons of views. That would be great. So he's so interested. He actually was giving me advice on like what they had done wrong with the Feastables launch. He's like, we went too big too fast. I'd like, you know, he was seeming very nice and giving advice, but he was also asking a ton of questions about how did you pull this off? How did you do this? How did you formulate this? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm happy to share. So he's like, let me talk to Jimmy about the launch, about the poker game. You know, that sounds fun. I think he might be down to go to Vegas. I wait to hear back. I send them samples. They're like, we fucking love this. Like, this is so cool. And then finally, when I'm like, hey, like, what's up? And then he's like, oh, I just found out that there's a conflict of interest with Feastables. We can't do we can't talk. And I was like, okay, when are you launching your chocolate milk?
Right, wow.
And I was like, wow, that's so shady.
How long was that going on for, the back and forth?
A couple months at least. But the funny thing is, like, this was a long time ago now, and like Feastables just launched their chocolate milk. I'm like, yeah, I saw that coming. But it's like, it's so bad. They're like, it's full of junk and full of sugar. But I'm just like, okay, cool guys, thanks.
Okay, that now makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's jump into a rave.
I got to give it to the guys, Dream Ventures, Rich and Jonah.
Okay.
Like, they actually, not only did they unlock all that, but they actually came in and backed it.
Yeah, they kept their word, which is huge.
Yeah, amazing.
Rent?
When it comes to ingredient labels, you have to list the ingredients in the order of like the highest volume. So if most drinks, it's like water is like the base, and then whatever else, you have to rank them in the order of like the most percentage of the drink. In our case, water, cashews, and then cocoa or agave, whatever. Most alt milks, whether it's oat or almond especially, they don't actually use that much oats or almonds to the point where if they actually listed it in the proper order, it would be like water, sugar, almonds, whatever. And of course that doesn't look good. So I don't know how they pull this off or how this is legal, but if you actually look at a lot of the almond milks or the oat milks, the first ingredient is this made up ingredient called like almond milk, like no space. It's just called almond milk, oat milk. And then it says in parentheses, almonds, water.
Okay, so they found a way around it legally.
It's literally a fucking, like loophole.
Interesting.
To still have all like nuts or oats actually show up at the start of that list.
Well, it's comparable to how these brands have, like, they're able to use the word natural.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of loopholes around it.
Yeah.
So very interesting. I did not know that.
I mean, I'll even call out, like, so we do use natural flavors.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's some compromise, like, you cannot make a shelf-stable product that's using, like, actual strawberries. You have to use, and it wouldn't taste good. So natural flavors, obviously better than artificial flavors, but I'm not like pretending that it's not that it's perfect, right?
No, I'm sorry. I should explain. I mean, like these companies and products that have natural written all over their boxes,
Right.
And then they've got all the dyes in it,
Yeah,
and
right.
you know, those ones.
Yeah.
And they found the loopholes around it to be
Yeah.
able to use that as a
But-
form of marketing.
But what's interesting is like I was actually curious myself to understand the difference. And the easiest way to explain it, because we do get this question a lot, is just that a natural flavor, still at the end of the day, it was derived from the actual whatever it was. So like if it's strawberry flavor, it was
Substance, yeah.
it partly came originally from a strawberry versus an artificial flavor is completely
Yeah.
made in lab. Like
Yeah.
there was never a strawberry in sight.
Yeah.
So that's really the difference.
Okay. Tip.
Don't trust designers.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few out there, maybe more than a few. There's some fucking dope designers out there. I'm
Yeah.
just struggling to find them. Or my big issue is a lot of them, like they have their own vibe and they can't get out of it.
Yeah.
So when I tell you do something dark, edgy, and sleek, and you come back at me with your poppy, like,
Flower.
fuck, I don't know. Like poppy's dope, but that's like
Not
kind
the
of
vibe.
different, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
not the vibe for us.
All right, we're going to end it there. Thank you guys for tuning in. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Peace.